out on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. Down on Bewley's farm. Oh, Bewley work you from dawn to dusk. If he could, he'd work you more. Every dollar gone before his skies, 'cause I owe it all to Bewley's store. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. Down on Bewley's farm. My daddy was a sharecropper, and his daddy for him too. We've been working on Bewley Farm since 1802. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. Down on Bewley's farm. Now I'm headed down to New Orleans, 'cause I got this here guitar. Got a cousin say he'll let me play for tips in his whiskey bar. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. I ain't staying down on the farm. Down on Bewley's farm.
Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, and we are the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines, and of course you just heard Bewley's Farm. It's the first track on the album Evangline by Blind Lemon Pledge, and for over a decade, Blind Lemon Pledge has been creating a series of blues and Americana albums. They have already received all kinds of airplay around the world, critical acclaim, and also garnered Best Blues, Best Producer, and Best Recording awards from the Indie Music Channel. And you can get the album on Amazon, Bandcamp, CD Baby, but I encourage you to go to the website directly. You can watch videos too. It is blindlemon-pledge.com, and we're so happy to have James Byfield, the music master behind Blind Lemon Pledge, back on Big Blend Radio today, and excited. This whole album really is like a journey through the history of music, which is therefore the history of people of this country. And James, it's good to have you back. How are you?
Oh, I'm real good. I'm glad to be back. I was so glad you guys were still doing your thing and were wanting to talk about this album, so here I am.
Yeah, Evangline and Bewley's Farm, I want to get right into that. You just don't hear people recording that kind of music that often, you know. Unless maybe
yeah, you sure don't. Well, it's not exactly top 40 material.
No, but it's important. And having been, we've met with some sharecroppers and interviewed sharecroppers out in the South. Mostly, you've got Clarksville. It seems to be a hot spot for that. But of course, a lot of parts of our country. But we actually did some interviews out in Louisiana. And I know that this sharecropping has been not just in our country, but in other countries as well. And so what drew you to doing this song and actually giving us the feel of what it's like to be out in the field, working the
Well,
farm?
I have 2 or 3 CDs by John Lomax, the famous ethnomusicologist, who at one point, I think it was in like the 20s and 30s, went around and recorded prison work gang songs, which is this is more that than it really is a sharecropper, but I used the sharecropper because it kind of fit the theme. And I loved them. They're so real primitive and sparse, and I just had listened to them. And one day I just, for no other reason than that's the way ideas came, I thought, God, I should try to make one of those kind of songs. So I sat down. I managed to find the sound effect of a real chain gang, and luckily it was a long enough sound effect that it had many of the sound where they're hitting the ground, whatever you'd call that, and so it didn't sound repetitious. It sounded, each one kind of sounds like, oh yeah, this is happening and this is happening, and then I had just built a cigar box guitar, which is the guitar you hear on that, and I just basically went into the studio and started laying down tracks and overdoing all the harmonies and stuff and putting all the things on it. I was real happy because it came out. It sounds like one of those tracks, and I thought that was great. It's really what I was going for. So I got the sound I wanted, and then luckily the theme kind of worked into all of that, and it kind of sets the album off because it's about leaving where you are and kind of going and seeing America. So that all worked out.
Well, dude, I have to tell you, you took me straight back to Africa.
Yeah,
you really did. I mean, I'm like, oh, I know that gumboot rhythm.
Yeah,
that's a. It took me.
There's a gumboot rhythm, but it's about taking that step and then moving your hoe.
That just took me right back to South Africa.
I think what's so interesting about the album is that you're moving out of the country, right? And so many songs have been like, I'm moving out of the country, and you think about how that happened in Chicago, became like the hot spot. As migration happened of musicians and people, looking for different opportunities. But it was interesting that you went down to New Orleans with yours, unless it was going across. I mean, I don't know, where Bewley's farm really was, but they're going to New Orleans. And I thought that was so interesting because you're telling the next song on the album is Jenny Bell, and there's it's very Dylan-esque to me, like a Dylan-esque like now, like he's got that gritty like just
gravel.
Yeah, it has that zone of it, and yet you're hearing like, okay, this guy's moving out and he's going to go look for he's going to go work in New Orleans and get tips how he's going to survive on tips to get started, and he has to say goodbye to his love, and it's like, and this happens, it happens today with people, but this is a story, and like it just keeps, this theme goes through, and you just feel like I believe that this could be like a play, like a stage, where people could identify with this person moving around. I don't know, it's I just think it has to be
so
either part of like a documentary or something. Ken Burns.
Interestingly, when I first started the album, I was going to do an entire song cycle, like a 10 or 12 song cycle, and I've tried them before a couple of times. I've never gotten all the way to the end. I always go off in other directions. But the first 4 songs on the album, which go from Bewley's Farm up through Midnight Assignation, were that story. And then I kind of depart from there, but basically somebody leaving the farm, going to the city, trying to make it, and eventually selling their soul to the devil, and that's where I stopped the cycle. But
you got to the crossroads. That's what happened.
Got to the crossroads, yeah. But someday I'm going to pull off a full song cycle. But it seems like every time I get to about 4 or 5, I just lose the thread and go, oh, here's another song and here's another song. So that's me.
That's interesting.
But that could be your cycle.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah. And you're like, hey, because life isn't always going to go on that same path. It's like, here, when you thought, hey, I'm going to continue here, something surprises you, something jumps out of the bushes and says, hey, come on down.
So you could do kind of like 4 seasons in one album kind of
That's
deal.
exactly it, yeah.
Well, I like that kind of, I've always been drawn to thematic albums or something that carries an idea or a mood or something all the way through, and I kind of try that on each of my albums, I think, to varying degrees of success.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too about what you're saying about how this album, like here I had this theme and then I'm like I'm jumping, which is human nature. We were watching what was it, Keith Richards documentary last night?
Well, that's so much
Oh
fun.
yeah.
And it was him or somebody there. It was said that every song can develop into 100 songs, and that's what
that's
happens.
true.
And that's exactly what you're saying here. I was like, that's it.
Well,
I know.
There's a twist of the language in the song, whether it's musical or verbal. There's a twist that takes you. Oh, your brain just goes that way.
Yeah.
Everybody else's brain's going that way, but yours went that way. I mean, that's what I call creativity.
I love it. I love it. Well, but you also take us to different places, and you know when you get into the Jenny Bell though, really that it's like, oh man, he's leaving. You know, it gives it's Tangled Up in Blue vibe to it. Not that it sounds like Tangled Up in Blue at all, but there's that. But you know what I mean? That song has that. I'm moving. Things are going to happen.
Well, it's definitely a melancholy song. It's interesting too. When I originally put it together, I had a drum and bass on it as well as the guitars, and the guy that is my engineer was putting it together, and he was doing the editing and stuff, and he just called up and he said, or he sent me a version. He said, I took the drums off. What do you think? And I went, oh my God, that's it. It's like the song totally changed, and it was suddenly really nice. So that was a great. I'll give him credit for that because it was a good idea.
Right on. And now, Brimstone Joe. This is the third time. I'm just going through these songs because you know these are cool. This gets like dirty. Like I feel like you have to clean the bottom of your shoes off if you have shoes on.
And that's good because that's what I was going for. Yeah. Well, I suddenly wanted to this poor guy that's now come to the city and just say, maybe you didn't make the greatest choice here, and he's suddenly confronted with evil, which is Brimstone Joe, and then that of course leads to the fourth song, which is actually going to the crossroads to sell your soul to the devil. So, as I said, it was originally a longer story arc. I kind of got it done in 4 songs on this album.
It's so interesting because I think that's what happens in life when you're going to do this big leap of faith within yourself to go and make a change. You know it's time to get out. It's time to move.
Yeah.
Lord knows Nancy and I have moved. I mean, I went to 16 schools, so I know about this. And then you wrap.
But you have to point out we were living in Africa.
Yeah, most of the time. But you get into this mode of, okay, no, it's going to be great. You have this. You tell yourself all these positive things, and you know you're going to go. There's heartbreak. There's always heartbreak when you leave. That's that bittersweet, you got chocolate in here. There's bittersweet chocolate. So we need to have some oranges on the side, some wine for this. Maybe some moonshine. There's always moonshine involved with your music, I think. But it's and to me it's a very true thing. When you leave, you know you're going to go on this next adventure. You do everything you can to push yourself forward mentally, physically, and in your body, like your soul. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this. You're saying goodbye to people. Don't cry. Move on. And then you get there, and you've got that optimistic side. I'm just saying that's, a lot of people don't. But you get in there, and then all of a sudden, here comes Brimstone Joe. And I don't know what it is about New Orleans, but they have these characters that really – they're going to love you or they're going to kick you in the teeth. There's going to be one of the two. It's crazy. There's something about New Orleans with that,
Well,
but I think
I've only been to New Orleans once, but it's configured in my music life since I was a kid and started writing music. It's just I always loved New Orleans rock. Fats Domino I think is just a genius. I had a real interesting experience once. We've traveled a lot in the Caribbean, and one night we were down in Jamaica in Ocho Rios, and we arrived there really late, and we checked into our hotel. Well, right next door to our room was a staff bedroom where they were having this raucous party, and the whole night they played New Orleans rock and roll, and I went, as a reggae fan, I suddenly went, that's where it came from. I could suddenly hear, because the beat I realized was so similar, that it was so heavy on the backbeat, and I went, oh, no wonder these people are listening to New Orleans and incorporated it into everything. So that was one of those great experiences of aha moment.
Well, that's interesting too, because you bring in Puerto Rico, which I think is so important, especially right now. Language of love, that you bring that in because you're talking of, the history of Americanness, like musically, Americana, and so often Puerto Rico and Hawaii are left off the list.
Oh yeah.
We forget that Puerto Rico is part of America.
They're islands.
I know,
sort
but
of.
they have incredible music. I mean, look at the slack-key guitar in Hawaii, but then Puerto Rico, I'm like, that is so cool that you put that in there. What inspired that? The fact that you like the island pop?
I had a great trip in Puerto Rico, and I loved the music. I had some great musical experiences when I was there, and when I was putting this album together, I mean, as the critics have talked so much about how eclectic my music is, which is obvious, and so I just thought, I've never written a kind of song in a Latin vein, and I suddenly had this idea thinking about Puerto Rico, and so it just, as all my best songs do, it just kind of flowed out, and then it took me a while to learn how to play it right, but it just kind of came, and a lot of my songs are like that. They just seem to, once they formed in my head, it's like everything's together, the story and the words and the music, and then they write themselves real fast. And I just wanted to do a kind of tribute to a beautiful island and beautiful women and beautiful music, basically.
It's interesting, different beats around the world. Like if you're in a country and you're listening to your car radio and you're driving down the street and you have the wrong music on for that particular country, the people aren't walking right beat. Now, we've noticed when you got the right music, so if you're in Mexico and you're playing Mexican music, the people are walking exactly to the beat, almost always, unless you put a waltz on. Then, now, the waltz, that messes everybody up. But, it really does. But if you play like a march and you're in Jamaica, it's not working. It just isn't working. People go with their own beat.
I love,
and that's it. I mean, that's, to me, what makes a difference in music is that accent. Where is that accent? And and it goes, and the people walk like that. It's really fun to do that.
But it's about breathability, right? So music goes with your heartbeat, and then breathability, how you're taking that breath. Like even, we were talking about Bewley's Farm. That's going according to breath. And when you're in that kind of repetitive motion, you have to have this repetitive breath to keep you going. Otherwise, you're going to fall down. And that happens. But it's about breath. It is. Breath, your heartbeat, and then it's like, hey, and it's got to do with the weather, too. Like the islands and stuff, you've got the beach and everything, but it's warm, tropical. New Orleans is like that. You're going to slow down because you can't move that fast. I'm not trying to...
And of course, breath is the basis of all singing, so it all works together.
Yeah.
In the islands, they kind of move slower and their hips flow wider. Like they move, their hips move more like dancers walk. They walk like dancers. They really do. And
you get into that. I always feel it's like the constant waves and tide coming in all around you. Just kind of gives you this certain rhythm and this certain pattern. And like you say, you can really see it when you're in these places.
And Language of Love, there's no better title for that. Okay, so we got to play it now. Are you cool with that? To play Language of Love? It shows everybody the diversity in here, and that's beautiful. Diversity, hey, that's why we're the Big Blend. See?
There you go.
You fit on our show. Here it is, everybody. Language of Love, again on the album Evangline by Blind Lemon Pledge. And go to their website, blindlemon-pledge.com.
I took a little trip down to Puerto Rico, down to the land of sea and sun and rum. I met a little señorita, Puerto Ricana. And I said to myself, now this might be the one. I said, señorita, por favor, my Spanish is a little poor. Are you the one that I've been dreaming of? She whispered, habla español. I said, little darling, no, no, no. I only know how to speak the language of love. The language of love. The language of love. I only know how to speak the language of love. Just 3 little words, you know it's true. 3 little words say I love you. I only know how to speak the language of love. In a Caribbean moon, we danced merengue, while a sweet little salsa band played cortisone. When I fell in love, I can't even say. All I know is I was head over heels before the dawn. I said, señorita, mi amor, my Spanish is a little poor. Are you the one that I've been dreaming of? She whispered, habla español. I said, little darling, no, no, no. I only know how to speak the language of love. The language of love. The language of love. I only know how to speak the language of love. Just 3 little words that say I do. 3 little words say I love you. I only know how to speak the language of love. In a Caribbean moon, we danced merengue, while a sweet little salsa band played cortisone. When I fell in love, I can't even say. All I know is I was head over heels before the dawn. I said, señorita, mi amor, my Spanish is a little poor. Are you the one that I've been dreaming of? She whispered, habla español. I said, little darling, no, no, no. I only know how to speak the language of love. The language of love. The language of love. I only know how to speak the language of love. Just 3 little words, you know it's true. 3 little words say I love you. I only know how to speak the language of love. I only know how to speak the language of love. I only know how to speak the language of love.
You're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, and you just heard Language of Love. It is on the album Evangline by Blind Lemon Pledge. You can get it. Go to blindlemon-pledge.com. It's on Amazon, Bandcamp, CD Baby, and I tell you what, James is here, the man behind Blind Lemon Pledge, and we have to talk about the name again because we do. But that song is what we call a wiggy butt song. So I think we touched on this the last time you were on the show. Wiggy is like, you have your first little, wine time of the day. You take a sip, and it goes down your back, and then it slides down to your butt, and then you shake your tail feathers. And then there's music that allows you and helps you and encourages you to shake your tail feathers, and that would be a wiggy butt song.
Yeah. I'm so proud of a wiggy butt song, I can't tell you.
I know, right? I know. So, that is a Wiggy Butt song, but now we have to go back. I know we talked about this before, but Blind Lemon Pledge, the name.
The name,
Tell us
yes.
about it.
Well, it originally started with a Martin Mull routine many years ago, and he invented this character that was a white blues player named Blind Lemon Pledge. And then when I first started recording back in 2008 and 2009, I'd got my first home recording set up, and I was starting to experiment and stuff. And I thought, well, I'll do an album. So I did a home album of a bunch of blues songs, some mine and some covers. And so this was just going to go to friends and family. So I thought of that name, Blind Lemon Pledge, and I put it on there, and I invented this whole weird history about him and his parents and everything, and put the notes on the album and sent it to my friends. And then some other people heard about it, and I started getting requests. And then at that point, I kind of discovered what had been happening with online radio and various music channels and stuff. So I started sending inquiries out to see if anybody'd be interested in this album, and suddenly they were. And so I sent out a bunch and started getting play, and then it's just kind of grown from there. And then, for better or worse, I think it's mostly better, I by the time I'd done the second or third album, I realized I was kind of with this name, Blind Lemon Pledge, even though other people have used it as well. But in 2015, I trademarked it, so officially it's mine now.
He's got the stamp. Don't mess with the Blind Lemon Pledge.
Yeah.
He's got the website, blindlemon-pledge.com. But it's such a cool name, and it's like to me, it's like you take notice of it, It's like, okay, what's going on there?
Well, that's the thing, because James-Byfield's an okay name, but it doesn't sound like a blues name, and nobody's going to remember it. Nobody can even spell it half the time. So, and the other thing that I like about it, and I don't talk about this much, but when I go on stage or I'm in the recording studio, I kind of become Blind Lemon Pledge. I created a persona that I can kind of go into and become.
Yeah.
And I've heard Beyonce, not to compare myself, but she's got a persona too. I forget what it's called, but Sasha is her stage persona, because she's supposed to be actually a kind of shy person, but she steps into the Sasha role and becomes, Beyonce, and I kind of like that idea a lot. It's like you kind of don the clothing and the persona and become that character for that period.
Yeah, it's easier to deal with. Like, I'm a very quiet person, believe it or not. I know. People laugh about it, but I'm really, I'm actually pretty antisocial.
Even your mom.
I really don't, I really, no, but it's true. But then, I'll do this, and I'm into it because it's so fascinating. I love talking to people around the world and what we're doing, but then it's like, okay, nobody talk to me, leave me alone. I'm weird that way, but it's like you do create this other, there is that, even as a performer, I always, had to just not be me. But and that was the only way to do it, because I could play music, but I couldn't talk to the audience. Believe it or not, that was the thing. And now I can stand up and talk anywhere, but I could not talk to the audience as the front person of the band. Everybody's like, you need to at least say hello, and I'm like, I can't, man. They're like, say hello, just say hello into the microphone. I'd be like, hello, and it's like, no. And then I would sing, and then I do, I'm pretty loud, loud blues singer.
Really?
And then I know, but it was so weird because I had to be in my own weird bubble zone with my own little personality, my own exactly what you're saying, and then I could do it.
I think that most performers, I think that's what being on stage is all about. As soon as you walk out from the wings and you're on stage, you do become somebody else.
And then people want you to be that person.
Oh, forever.
Right? And then they elect you. Politician. Anyway, not trying to go that way, but I'm just you go all the way back. JFK. Everybody. There's this thing that happens. What is in public and what you are at home is two different things.
Stage presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's who you are.
James, look what you've done.
I know. Now we're deep into philosophy, and we got your mom laughing like crazy. So I think it's a good interview.
And now,
when she said she's quiet, I'm like,
no,
really?
Now we're just going to solve the world. But
I just want to remind you, I'm sitting right here.
I know, but I want to bring this up too. And I know the last time we probably talked about this, but I think what you're doing is so important. Documenting music. You're documenting and creating music of our history, the history of Americana. And there's not very many people. There's people get soaked into one genre, and I love that you're eclectic because people are diverse.
Well, America is.
History is diverse. And
well, that's it. America is so diverse, and all my genres. I mean, I just cherry pick in a way from all this music. I've always had extremely eclectic taste. You know, my album collection is just all over the place and always has been.
Nice.
And I think I told you last time, at one point I studied Chinese music for 5 years, you know, and just delved into that. So, you know, I find when I start writing that they all just kind of come at me. I've also got a bunch of gospel tunes. I'm hoping to record a gospel record. And my latest project that I'm right in the middle of now, and there's a song on this album called How Can I Still Love You, that kind of jazzy thing that's on there. Well, I've got a whole passel of sort of American songbook jazz kind of songs, and I'm right in the middle of doing that album. So that hopefully that'll come out early part of next year.
Oh, cool.
Wow. So when you do an album, like when you're in the project, right, everything's alive, and do you get like, you even go have coffee with a friend and the album is still ticking in the back of your head? Do you get like obsessed with it?
Oh yeah, once I'm into it, it's kind of constantly there. You know, it's like I'm changing things and thinking about it and thinking about how I could, you know, what I'm going to talk about if I'm using other musicians, how I'm going to approach it and how I'm going to get them. So yeah, definitely once I'm in a project, it never goes away till it's done.
And then once it's done, and then you come on radio shows like Evangline. I mean, how do you feel about it now when you're working on another thing? You'd like treasure it, but are you just like, okay, I'm on, like, how do you?
I'm over here now.
Yeah, do you listen to your albums once you've put them out?
Oh, I do. I love listening to my own music, even though it probably sounds egotistical. But I was talking to a friend one day, and I said, it's like going into your own dreams. You know, it's like stepping back into your own dreams. It's a very, especially with like headphones on. It's just because all those ideas and everything you percolated while you were creating it are suddenly all gelled, and they're the final thing. And it's just I'm always thrilled by my own music. It's just fun to listen to, and then and I haven't there are no projects I regret. There's a couple cuts where I go, God, I could have done that better or something, but I'm pretty happy with all my albums, you know, and they've mostly gotten pretty good reception. I was a little surprised I got more negative reception on the last album we talked about, the folk album, than I had gotten previously. But
Backwoods Plans. We just played it on the show. You're going to hear it soon, everyone. I can't remember who's going first on what, but on the schedule here. But there's number one, just backwoods glance, just even that, like, to me, when you just even use the word backwoods, I want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like who, what, where. Something's going on. Something's in the dark. Something's at the sunrise, and you don't know what happened between the two times.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
No, it's kind of a title that says you better go back and look, or you're going to make the same mistake.
Yeah.
I like it.
And you have Americana in your veins, yet do you have, like, just going to your name, James-Byfield, that's got to be Celtic, that's got to be Brititic, you've got, like, European.
I'm about as wasp as a person can get.
That's funny because that's part of our Americana. Like, I think a lot of your music, you could take like backwoods Glen, go up in the Appalachian country. You could be like, you know, to me your music is very, it's so interesting because you're in the Bay Area, yet your music feels very much on the other side of the country. Do you go to the other side of the country a lot? I know you go to islands, but like
I don't go. I've been there a few times. It's just from when I was a kid and first became aware of music and stuff. I was just always drawn to that like either the Appalachian sound or just all the stuff. The South is an amazing place for music, and there's almost no Southern music I don't like. It's just whether it's blues or Carter Family or it just that's the stuff that has informed my life and my tastes. And even though I also have a lot of avant-garde jazz and stuff, but even that's got the blues base at it somewhere.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. It's all connected. But definitely I have an obvious bent towards Southern themes and Southern sounding music, and that's just what has always appealed to me.
Yeah, you remind me of, I know I've said this before, but it's like I said, there's very few people doing what you're doing, and Ry Cooder, Taj Mahal have done that, where they are able to incorporate all genres into it and showing this is the American piece of pie, It's not just apples. We don't just have apples.
Well, another of the musicians I have always admired is Randy Newman, who's a Los Angeles Jew who loves Southern music. I mean, it's all through his music, so it's very,
I mean, it's just neat. I love the diversity because, like I said, when you think about America, there's islands. We have a lot of islands. Look, Florida, Georgia,
Georgia,
Alabama.
Georgia.
Yeah.
I like music that makes you, in your mind, takes you somewhere.
Yeah, you had a sense of place.
I like that a lot. I don't like music unless you're drunk and you're trying to dance. Then you can play blues music. That's what I call some of the other music that we get to hear, and I'm open to hearing it, but when I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Look how good she's being politically correct here.
I'm trying really hard.
Skirting
it's not taking me anywhere. Then okay, let me have another drink and dance or something.
You shouldn't have to drink to listen to music.
Yeah, well, good point. But I like music where within the first couple bars, you're like, okay, I'm over here.
Cool. Well, my
that.
songs are very story oriented. I mean, some singer-songwriters, in fact, probably much more typically in our era, is the sort of confessional, dig down deep and talk about yourself. And my own personal life works its way into its songs, but I mostly write them like you would short stories. I get an idea, and even more often I get a character. That's what a lot of my songs are. I suddenly imagine a person, and what would that person do? Language of Love is a perfect example. I incorporated my experience of going to Puerto Rico, but then I pictured this guy going down there looking for romance and all the stuff that would happen, and so the character kind of writes the song for me.
I think that's so important, and storytelling is such an important role of communication in our world. And I know advertisers are trying to do it, and it's like okay, but there's storytelling, and when music can do that. You can even hear it if you can't even understand the language. You can hear it in the music. When someone is storytelling, you can feel it, And I think that's such a key thing. And characters, it's the same thing when when we watch film or a TV show. There's the flash in the pan, bang, boom, bang, and then there's the character that or a book. You're immediately invested in a character, and as soon as you get that immediately, then this is like you're going on a journey. And you want, even if the character's a villain, you still want to hang out with the villain. You're like, I identify you. I'm going to hang out with you.
The thing is, when you're done with the book or you finish listening to the song or whatever it is, are you going to remember it the next day? That's my test. If I can remember something the next day, I'm like, that must have been good.
Yeah.
No, it's really true. If you can remember it, like certain passages in the song, certain characters in the book, even if you forget the rest of the novel, but the one character stood out, then I think the author did a good job.
Exactly. And now, Ham and Eggs. I want to talk about that song. We played it a bit on our cooking show, but it's so like.
Great! I'm so happy to hear that.
I love Ham and Eggs. Okay, because I hear Ham and Eggs, and then it's like Ham and Eggs, and I feel like, oh my gosh, everybody wake up. And there's like this. I see the cast iron skillet, and I just feel like I'm in the farmhouse. I don't. It's just like, And it's like you're lucky to get these ham and eggs. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's excited.
You got to have
ring
the
triangle.
And
yeah. Tell me about ham and eggs. Where did this come from?
Oh well,
He was hungry.
as I sometimes do, I sometimes like to just say I haven't written in such and such a genre or like such and such an artist, and this is my Cole Porter song because I love those kind of sophisticated jazzy songs with silly humor that he has, and so this was my attempt at that kind of genre. I mean, I wasn't specifically thinking to imitate Cole Porter, but to do it in that style. And again, as we were just discussing, the whole story of the diner and this guy down on his luck, but is this total optimist. So now he's got $1, and this is gonna make his life. And then I actually even researched because I was sort of thinking it as a 30s kind of theme. So I even researched if $1 would get you ham and eggs in the 30s, and it would. So I thought that worked out pretty well. Yeah.
That's cool. It's so cool. I love this. And Go Jump the Willie. Tell us about that, because now you take us. I mean, you take us all over the place. So this is cool. Willie. And this is like you're. It's a dancing. It's jumping. It's jumping.
Well, that is definitely a wiggle butt one, or whatever you call it.
It's a wiggy butt song, everybody.
Yeah.
Wiggy butt alert.
Wiggy butt alert. I wanted to write another artist I love is Louis Jordan, and again he's a pretty silly artist too. So I had two motives on this. One is I was remembering back when I was a kid, there used to be lots of dance songs on the radio, the Twist, etc., etc. So I wanted to write a song that was about a new dance I invented, which is Jump the Willie, and then and I wanted to do it in the Louis Jordan kind of vein. So that's how I did that.
Okay, I have to ask this. Do you remember a dance called The Worm?
Yes, I do. I don't think I did it, but I remember it. Now the twist, when I was in junior high, I had numerous twist awards because I was so good at the twist.
Really?
The Worm.
Yeah. I had one award, in fact, and I even wrote a song called this. That was Mr. Twister was the award.
The Twist.
Yeah.
So are you doing it from the Chubby Checker, the Twist?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the era. And
Yeah.
Joey
So that was what started the whole song, right? I mean, the whole dance was from that song. Did the Twist?
Well, yeah. Actually, there was an earlier version of it, but he was the one that really got it popularized. It actually came out of New York at this place called the Peppermint Lounge started it, and then it just grew from there. Yeah.
Wow.
He just actually physically did it.
But now, okay, so what do we have now when it comes to dances? Like I know at one point there was the Macarena.
Oh, geez.
There was all that kind of this slide thing, the electric slide or whatever. What do we twerk? Oh yeah, that's the latest. Go Miley Cyrus. Hey, listen. I know people get all weird about Miley Cyrus, but if you've
got a great voice.
She's an incredible singer.
She really is.
And I recommend people watch her Backyard Sessions and see her sing with her band.
Wow, interesting.
Backyard Sessions with Miley Cyrus. Go on YouTube, Backyard Sessions, and see her sing Jolene and things like that. She goes back to her roots, and she's dang
good.
It, she's good. She's good.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I mean, everybody thinks of the twerking and the craziness, but she's got some good roots of good Americana
talent.
Roots, and
That's
it's
cool.
like, wow, look at that. Yeah, barefoot in the grass. It's good. That's how we should be, barefoot at all times. So okay, so it's time for some fun questions, James, because we've been so boring. So I want to know.
I've loved where this conversation has gone everywhere.
I know. Well, your album goes everywhere. What
I guess it's appropriate, isn't it?
It's all about the wiggy.
I'm so glad you know The Worm.
I know.
You're the first person who said yes.
No, from now on it's the Worm and Wiggy Butt. It's the Worm and Wiggy.
See, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a dance as eternal as the worm.
Just now we're going to get into the bird's the word. So that
was my other favorite. I love it. It's a great video.
Okay, so you're going to jam with somebody, alive or passed on, with one of your songs on Evangline. and you're going to go to a location that you've always wanted to play in. So who is this person that you want to really play with? Anyone, alive or passed on. And which song and where? Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay, I want to get Son House, famous old blues player.
Yeah.
We're going to do the song Evangline because that one is actually inspired by him. And we're going to do it at the old Fillmore.
Man, lots
is
of
that
people
a good
say
image?
there. Yeah. So you're saying Evangeline and I say Evangeline?
Yeah.
That's me.
Listen, once we play it again, you'll hear it.
I know. I just,
You're thinking.
I get
Nadine.
maybe that's. I get my own thing going.
Well, no.
Most
people say it. Yeah, most people say Evangeline. I said Evangeline so that people would kind of sit up and take notice because it would take them out of their immediate comfort zone. So that was partly why I changed the. And plus, I thought the Ein sounded more kind of back country, kind of funkier or something. I don't know.
Hey, Evangeline, you get those corners in here.
Exactly. If your name is Evangeline and your mom's mad at you, then it's Evangeline.
Yeah.
Get your butt in here.
Yeah.
But if you're okay, like, hey, Evie or Evangeline,
it's
okay. But when you're mad, it's Evangeline.
Yeah.
You get your ass in here.
But I like this. I love this, and I love the slide on this. Tell me about this song and where it came from and why you decided this is the title track. Or signature track, I should say.
Boy, that's a good. I decided because I just loved the cut. Once the cut was done, and it's real long, man, and I still managed to get a lot of airplay with it. But I just thought, I would name the album that, and then when people got to the end, they would suddenly get that whole song at them, and to me the cut, even though it's really the second most sparse cut on the album after the opening cut, kind of encapsulates all the stuff I was trying to do with the album. It really captures a mood and a place, and it really kind of says that old kind of Delta area stuff. And then I basically it's three instruments. Maybe I had a bass on it too. I definitely had the percussion is a heartbeat. So I got a heartbeat sound effect, and then I used that to set the beat. And then I have one guitar, which is just a kind of rhythm acoustic guitar, and then against that I do the slide, and that's pretty much it on it.
It's interesting how you're merging, like you're doing Americana, it's old school music, right? And then it's like a fresh perspective on it, and that you're using technology and then still like the regular instrument, how you're merging that. But when you're listening to it, you feel like you're sitting outside on a porch in the dirt, like dirt. There's dirt on your shoes. There's definitely dirt on your shoes for the entire album. And there's sand if you're going to Puerto Rico one, but there's dirt. And it feels good. To me, that feels normal.
So maybe you're saying it's grounded.
Yeah, it's very grounded. And you wouldn't think technology plays into this at all, ever. You just think,
well, it's had an interesting history that way. The first release of this album in 2014, which was the first time, as I said earlier, that I'd hired a radio promoter, so I knew it was going to probably get a lot more places than my previous stuff had done. I put a whole fake cast of characters on it, musicians. I invented a whole band, even though I did everything on it myself, because I thought the critics would see that I did everything myself and kind of prejudge it. So I invented these characters, and the names are actually all ridiculous, but no critic ever got that. They would sometimes send me questions and say, "Could you tell me more about such and such a musician?" But I had one of the percussionist's name was Laura Lynn Hardy, and
oh my gosh, come on.
Joanna Mann and names like that. They were all like totally silly, but nobody got it, and which I thought was great. But the interesting thing was the album after that, which was called Pledge Drive, where I also did almost everything myself. That time I just said, yeah, okay, it's me. And I got one of the critics who'd give me a great review on the first release of Evangline, said, on his last album, he really captured this this wonderful spirit of acoustic music. But on this one, he's using technology, and it really shows.
Huh.
and so I was like, I had guessed right. You know.
Oh well, it's interesting though. I mean, because you can do things like this, you know, and it's about. I think it's about where your heart is on things. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, you know, all musicians deal with technology. I think part of it is too. I made my living as a graphic artist for most of my life, and I started out doing, you know, traditional drawing and stuff, and moved into computers as they became the dominant force in graphic arts. And I have no hesitations or walls about using computers to create art.
It's a new tool.
Made my living
it's a new
that way.
creative tool.
Yeah,
it's a new creative tool.
I think it's awesome.
I know. I mean,
there's a big freedom in that.
Yeah, I mean, look what we've had to do as magazine publishers. You know, it's like I remember days of paste up when I was a kid. We were pasting up things, you know, and now look at it. Now we're completely digital. It's like I remember in South Africa when Nancy had her magazine out there, and I was working for, you know, when I was in high school and then afterwards, and she had this. She got one of the, you know, the first. She had the Mac computer. Came in, it was this, and she called it the mothership, and it was like the mothership, right? And this was in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. Now, if you needed help with your computer, you'd have to fly somebody in from Johannesburg to come in and help you with your computer. Like this is, I mean, look where we are now, pre-internet, all that. She got this big computer and decides we're doing our own. You know, she did things to disc. At that time, it was unheard of. And then the printer, like we drove it to the printer in Cape Town. Yeah. The printer goes, I'm not ready. Oopsie. There were things like she was printing out her own film with this, but she sat down and saw everything that was going on. She's like, I want a magazine with a video in it. Let's think about this. This was in the
long time ago,
late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah.
No, we got here. Yeah. I want video in a magazine. Wouldn't that be crazy? Now, you think about it. None of us thought about where we are now. And now we have videos in our magazines. It's crazy.
It took a long time.
You never would have thought, but it's like, wouldn't it be cool if you could open up a magazine, you're scrolling through, and all of a sudden something popped out?
I wanted the logo of the city of Port Elizabeth, which was a penguin with swimming trunks on, to walk down the streets of Port Elizabeth.
Yeah, in the magazine.
And I can do that now, but I don't live there, so.
Yeah, but that's a crazy thing, and it's like you. I think as creative people, you can't. There's tradition, which you do very well, but you're embracing the new and the old, and I think that is something very important for us to all look at, because the revival of vinyl comes back from. It's a balancing thing. It's how do we balance the new and the old. Yeah,
well, the ability to record in my home office is, you know, it's just astonishing. I mean, it gives you such creative freedom that you never would have had. And the other thing, you know, for people like me, indies like me, it gives you, with that combined with the internet. I mean, in the old days, if you didn't have a record contract, you'd never get played anywhere or reviewed or anything, you know. Mm-hmm. And now you're just part of the world, and you know, you can go out there and create your own audience. So I think that's so exciting and amazing.
It is
Great
cool.
Time to
it
be
is
alive.
cool.
Yeah.
It's good to have you back on the show. We play your music on Big Blend Radio all the time, and we look forward to continue doing that. And everyone, again, go get Evangline. blindlemon-pledge.com. And we want to thank our sponsor of today's show, which is the National Parks Arts Foundation. We love them. They come on our shows every first Friday. We interview artists that are staying in the National Park unit for a month to create. And it's an incredible program. People's art sometimes ends up in the National Archives. I mean, it's a really cool program for artists. You could be staying at the Dry Tortugas out in the ocean in Florida on an island. You could be up in Chaco Culture. It's a beautiful, ancient, historic site. Also dark sky, so if you're into dark sky photography as a photographer, go there. But it's open to musicians, artists, photographers, filmmakers, writers, poets. If you do anything in the arts, this is an opportunity for you. Some of them, Gettysburg is one of the places. Hint, hint, James, just saying.
That would be a good place.
I just hear a Gettysburg soundtrack coming from you.
I think you're right.
I know. I just feel that.
Yeah.
And they also have a program for veteran artists as well, which is very unique, out in Big Bend National Park in Texas. So anyway, I love this program. So if you're anywhere in the arts, go check it out. Or if you're a park, they're not just married to national park units. Go to nationalparksartsfoundation.org, and I encourage you to sign up for their newsletter because they get new opportunities all the time, and they come and go real fast. So nationalparksartsfoundation.org. And we want to thank you, James, for joining us. We want to thank our listeners. Don't forget, go to bigblendradio.com. It has our schedule. We air Sunday through Friday. It'll tell you all the upcoming shows. You can listen as they air or on demand. Again, bigblendradio.com. But here it is, Evangline. Thank you so much, James. Such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Good talking to you again. And I'll call you next year when I got my jazz album.
Oh, yeah, you better. You better call us for that. I'm so glad. I think jazz is on a revival mode. That's cool. At one point they had a little, but now it's coming back. So I'm looking forward to that. Any New Orleans kind of style in there? Just got to ask.
Oh, there's definitely some of that. Definitely some of that. Yeah, there's some harder blues, but there's some real. And there's a sister song to Ham and Eggs called "Catch a Spaghetti." So look for that.
Yeah, we love that. We need as many food songs as possible in the world.
Yeah.
Here comes the food album.
I know. I love it. All right, here it is, everybody. Evangline. Take care, James.
The book lost all the pages, and the poem lost the rhyme. Yeah, the book lost all the pages, and the poem lost the rhyme. All my stories ended when I lost Evangline. I woke up this morning and the sun, it wouldn't shine. You know, I woke up this morning and the sun, it wouldn't shine. I've been hiding in the darkness, ooh, since I lost Evangline.